said secrets don't make friends.
Oh, I was just telling her on my stream deck I got the Bitcoin price,
Yeah.
and then if you hit the button, it shows the chart. It's pretty sick.
Nice. Oh yeah,
Yeah, we're live.
dude. I just hit it, so it might take a second.
I got to start logging into the Riverside.
To the Riverside, you say?
Yeah, instead of through the guest links so that I can play with the fun layouts. Because like right now with the buttons, I can like change it, but only I can see it. It's like not the you know the
Yeah.
world. Yeah, where is Jake?
I don't know. He messaged us today on the group chat and asked if we could do it without him today.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Well, yeah, because you don't chat with us, man.
Bro, I'm in so many group chats, man. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff. People texting me. It's
Mister
insane,
fucking
man.
popular over here.
It's not even that, bro. It's just I'm a people pleaser, you know?
Does my sound okay?
Yeah, you sound great, dude.
Good. Gonna cough a lot, just so you know. I
Don't.
got my Hall's things here. I gotta take my nose candy real quick. I'll be right back. All right.
I sound like I'm half asleep when we do the podcast.
Who said that?
Damn.
Oh, the chat. I should probably bring that up.
When I listen to the podcast, Jeff sounds like he's half asleep. Who said that? Who is that? Who is
That
that?
is. Oh, that's Danny. Danny, what's up, dude?
Danny. Yeah,
Kenzar.
it's always
What's
my
up,
bedtime. You ever
Kenzar?
notice when you listen to Shadow Band, I'm all fired up? It's because we do that one at like 7 o'clock my time. I'm all juiced up from work, you know? These
He's
schmucks
all
like to do this at like fucking midnight. It's crazy.
he's all jacked up on Mountain Dew. He's gonna go throw Chip's war medals off the bridge. I watched a sci-fi movie this weekend. Well,
Which one?
technically, I watched two.
That's impressive from you, but
Yeah,
which ones?
they were actually part of a series, a two-part series, and I didn't pay attention to them at all. I was reading a book the whole time. Could you guess?
You want me to guess?
Yeah, man, guess.
Of the trillions of sci-fi movies, you want me to just fucking randomly guess which ones you watched?
Yeah, it was a two-part series.
A
Two-part
two-part
series.
series.
I'll give you a hint. My wife told me that it was a mixture, or what she told me, it was a mixture of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
So
And
it wasn't Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Those are the
it
two
was
I would have guessed, but
it was
you said
not.
two-part. Yeah, yeah, that's why I said not after he said. I don't fucking know, dude.
I bet you if Skeeter was in the chat, he'd probably be able to ring it off right away. I mean, I watched bits and pieces of it, but I was very busy into getting the new project off the floor. I'm trying really hard to get it going. Still a few months out, but I'm trying to get it going.
That's good, man. Stay focused, brother. I've also been
Yeah,
focused. I haven't played any video games lately. I've just been fucking honed in,
no video games, huh?
focused. I can put this right here and it'll be on camera.
What is it?
So what did he watch?
It's a little UFO.
No, what did he watch?
Oh, Dune. I watched Dune.
Dune. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about it though.
Right on.
Do you see this? You see this guy over here? Look at him.
What is that? I can't see it from here. Saturn?
No, it's a little flying saucer.
Oh, okay.
It's a double convex flying saucer. It's a little.
Is it like magnetic floaty object thing?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell from here. Maybe hold on. Let me.
Oh, hold on.
If I blow you up, maybe I can see it.
I don't know how to zoom in. So.
Oh yeah, I can see it if I zoom in.
I mean, hold on. If I turn the face off, there you go. Can you see it better now?
It's actually easier with the light on.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like those. I want one.
I got it off of the TikTok.
TikTok shop.
Yeah.
Cool, bro.
And it's been running for about I'd say a couple weeks now. It's been
Dude, have you set up the layout hotkeys on your Elgato yet?
No, dude. I've been sick as shit for 2 weeks now.
Bro, you've had the Elgato for like a month and a half.
Yeah, well, I'm busy.
Busy watching Dune and fucking reading.
I wouldn't count that as actually watching Dune. I was in spirit there while Dune was on TV. I was there for the wife.
Do you ever read anything on, or do you only read books, or do you have like a Kindle or something that you read?
No, man, I tried the Kindle thing. I can't do it.
No.
Yeah, I can't do it, man.
I seen this new tablet that's coming out, or maybe it's out now. It's like a paper one, apparently. It's supposed to mimic like writing on a notepad or paper. You know what I'm talking about? Smart Pad. It looks cool. Apparently, it even makes like the sound of like a pencil, and it has like tactile feedback, like ever so slightly. I saw like an ad for it. I don't know. It looked cool. I don't know. I don't have money for that kind of shit, but if I did, I'd probably get one of those.
All right, you ready to get this started?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I don't know what we're talking about today. We'll just do
either.
something. Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy. Today, we don't know what we're talking about at all. Like, at all. There was absolutely zero conversation about possibilities of what we're going to talk about today. There's no Jake. He requested us to do this on our own today. I don't know what's going on. We'll catch up with him later, see what's happening. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but it'll be just old Jeffrey and I. Jeff, what's going on, dude? How you been?
Chilling, bro. Hanging out, working.
Good stuff, man. Good.
Yep.
I have had I've had myself a crazy 2 weeks, man. It's been nuts.
Yeah, you almost died.
I did. I found out that I have walking pneumonia. It's not that bad, but so we had influenza A come through the house. All 6 of us got it. My wife, myself, and my 4 kids. We all caught it, and I'm the only one that has this lingering walking pneumonia. Apparently, I have fluid in one of my lungs, and I'll wake up and I'll have all the energy in the world. I'll kick ass, take names, and get shit done, for an hour, and then it'll just hit me. I'll lose all my energy. I'll start coughing. I'll get a major headache, and I'll just want to sleep. And I'll pretty much be useless. I'll need a nap in the middle of the day, and pop some Advil migraine. Well, I went down to the walking urgent care shortly after the last recording, and they were like, "Yeah, you have some fluid in your lungs, man. Pretty sure you have walking pneumonia, or what they call acute ammonia." And they said that because it was viral, that there's not really anything we can do about it. If it was bacterial, then they'd be able to give me um, the stuff, right? The antibodies or antibiotics, and but because it's viral, we just got to let it run its course. But it's kicking my ass, man. It's like today was like the first day where it wasn't that bad. Um, like yesterday, I spent 3 hours of my midday just laying on the couch with my face in the pillow because I just couldn't open my eyes. My head hurt so bad. Um, but
That sucks, dude.
yeah, yeah, and I've already used up all my sick time for work. So that's all gone for the rest of the year. That's pretty cool. Um,
That sucks too.
yeah, but I got vacation time and stuff that I can use up if need be. Um, but yeah, I mean, hopefully we're on the fast track to recovery now, and hopefully every day gets better. Like today was tenfold better than yesterday. But forgive me, if you're listening and you hear me drinking water and uh, eating some cough drops and coughing into the mic and being rude and stuff. Uh, I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping up.
You
Um,
nasty.
yeah, so um, I apologize ahead of time for that. Don't have a headache right
Hey,
now, but
on the plus side, I finally got my fucking UFO Days poster.
did you?
Shirt.
And yeah, Crystal got her shirt.
Oh, Jake sent it. That's good.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, and you know what the fucked up thing is? He sent it in this nice, beautiful frame and everything. I was like, oh, dude, you framed it for me. And as I was putting it up, I dropped it, and now the frame is broken. So,
Oh, I bought the frame.
oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It made it here safe.
My chest still hurts though. It's strange. It feels like I don't know. I used to be a smoker, like way back in the day. I just smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes and woke up.
Boo you, kid.
um, but yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I'm gonna start spreading the word now. I got a new project right around the corner. I'm not ready to announce exactly what it is, what the name of it is, and show you guys all the cool artwork and all the fun stuff yet, but it's coming soon. I've been spending a lot of this downtime working on that because it's literally the only thing that I can do. But it's pretty fun, and I think I enlisted the wife to finally help me out with something. Uh, she was more willing to help me because it was only me. She's kind of shy, so she doesn't she didn't want to put anybody else down other than me. So she's she's like she's like, if I'm only gonna hurt you, I don't care. That's fine.
Damn.
I was like, I would be so proud to have you join this project. So that'd be really cool if she does end up helping me out. She doesn't want to be behind the mic, and it is a podcast, so we'll see. We'll see. I hope so. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be cool. Get involved. It's another thing you guys do, spend time together and shit, you know? It's
It would
always
be
good.
it would be honestly, unfortunately, it'd be one of the few things that we do together. We don't do too much other than parent. Um, but yeah, she's my whole world, man, and I would welcome her into one of my projects with open arms. I hope that it would I hope it comes true, man. I hope she listens to this at some point, and I know she won't. I know she won't, but if in case she is one day, I hope that she took that leap and helped me out with my next project. But anyways,
Yeah, brother. Hell yeah.
excuse me.
Bro, so you saw they fucking came out about the drones in New Jersey and said it was a bunch of nothing?
Yeah, they said it was the FDA or the FAA. Sorry. They said that it was some sort of practice thing that they were testing some sort of emergency systems or
Didn't I
some
say
sort of
that?
communication thing. But yeah, but that's bullshit,
Didn't
man.
I say that? I think we could roll the tape back, and I'm pretty sure I said I'm pretty sure they're just running a test, or they're running a fucking. I didn't use the word test. What was the word I used? Like a scenario. Somebody will run it back. I said this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like that's too convenient. You know, it's too easy to answer it that way. That I feel like if there was any validity to that, that would have been something that they had come out with right off the bat. You know,
I don't know, man. You see some of the stuff that's happening right now, like, some of the incompetence that's been shown to have been happening over the last 3 or 4 years. Just in the last couple weeks, some of the shit that's come out, like some of the money that they were throwing, sending, what was it? I don't remember the number, $500 million worth of condoms to Gaza. It's like, okay, bro. Like, and there was countless programs where it was just incompetence, like across the board, right? So it's,
Mhm.
you know, FAA is like, yeah, go do your thing, and then every other agency's like, just incompetent.
um yeah, man. I don't know, man. I'm tired of the whole UFO thing. I can't explain how much UFO stuff that I have ingested lately, especially over the last couple weeks. It's insane. I was just talking about this. Hopefully, I don't ruin this for him, but um, Jason Hewlett, our old boss man from the Paranormal Network, is getting ready to launch his own paranormal podcast, and I just recorded with him on his show. I'll be on his third episode whenever he chooses to release it. I think he said he was going to release it sometime in March, and so look forward to that. Anybody listening, when Jason Hewlett drops his podcast, I'll be his third guest. And we were talking about it a little bit, and I just talked about the overload of UFO and UAP news that's been out there, and how it's so hard to keep track of now because you have all these different people that are coming forward. You have so and so said this, especially when you have like you have these camps that are coming out, right? You have the Elizondo camp, and you have man, what's that doctor's fucking name? You know what I'm talking about. Um, Greer, right? You
Yeah,
got Greer
Dr.
coming
Steve
out,
Greer.
and then you have that interview about the egg UFO over at News Nation, and then you have people that are responding to all this stuff, but they're not responding to all three of them. They're only picking and choosing one at a time, and they're not being very detailed about what they're responding to. So the confusion as to what they're responding to, and then you have a lot of people that are just not very educated about the acronyms and what they're referring to, and what the acronyms that they're using isn't correct. Like I was reading this article the other day about, and I mean, it was a full length article about this whole thing about ATIP and the UAPTF. If you didn't know, ATIP is the Advanced Aerospace uh, Threat Identification Program, which came out. That was what Luis Elizondo was the head of, as part of the Pentagon's attempt to, or it's still going on. It's just under the acronym ARROW now. AARO. Um, but this was when the U.S. military was having issues with these UAPs, and this is when the UAP name really came out during all these congressional meetings. Um, excuse me. And they started creating these standardized forms for military pilots to fill out whenever they had these encounters with these unidentified aerial phenomena. Um, well, we had this entire article that came out, and I want to say it was CNN, and I was just reading through it, and they kept talking about the UAPTF, which is Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, which it was I would say like a spin-off organization of ATIP, that was specifically set aside to create a report for the for Congress, specifically for that congressional hearing back in 2021. Back when, God, what was it? What was the main guy's name in that first congressional hearing? Do you remember?
You talking about the tatted up dude,
Maybe, I don't know.
the journalist, or the dude that he was interviewing?
No, the military guy.
Oh, I don't remember, man. If you said his name, I'd probably recognize it, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Question for you, real quick. I'm sorry to throw you off. Are we live on X as well, or just on Twitch?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna get this guy's name real quick, because I know it's gonna drive me nuts if I can't freaking remember his name. No, I guess I'm not gonna be able to get it. Somebody find that for me on the chat. Excuse me, everybody.
Fucking ruin the show. Just like
Yeah,
that.
I know. I'm dying. Just gotta get better at this, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of UFO shit too, man. To be honest with you, it's kind of like not. It's interesting to like ponder crazy possibilities, aliens and interdimensionals. Like obviously, like it's just interesting thought experiment stuff. But just thinking about it, like what's happening right now around us with that kind of thing, isn't really like super interesting to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, there's stuff kind of in that realm that's interesting to me. Like you get into like Skinwalker Ranch stuff, or like weird. I don't even know if I want to use the word paranormal, but just like areas that seem like portals of some kind, or something weird. Like that's interesting, and I understand there's like orbs and UFO sightings that happen in those areas, but I think those are much different than like your typical like UFO sightings, if that makes sense.
Well, it's funny that you say Skinwalker Ranch, because I had just kind of made the announcement a little while ago that I'm shutting down the IRH Patreon, and that was supposed to be February's topic for the Patreon, and I have since migrated that over to the new projects. One of the topics in the new projects, and when we were on the Paranormal Network, speaking of Jason Hewlett, I originally did the Skinwalker Ranch. I think we did it in 2 or 3 parts or whatever, and it was 21 pages. I've now got that up to 68 pages long.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it there's a lot there, man. And I mean, if you want to take a sidestep into Skinwalker Ranch, that's something we could talk about pretty heavily tonight. Um, there's a lot of history there that I failed to talk about last time. Um, I don't know necessarily where we would even start, but basically the gist is, if I were to summarize Skinwalker Ranch and to kind of open up people's eyes about what is really going on there, um, you can't look at Skinwalker Ranch as the 480-acre property that it is in the northeast corner of Utah in the Uinta Basin. You have to look at the Uinta Basin as a whole. The Uinta Basin has a magnificent history of some of the weirdest shit that you'll ever hear about, mostly in the form of UFOs, in 2 separate uh, categories, and that's basically going to be mimicked throughout the world and throughout history, right? You have um, the solid metallic craft, and then you have the illuminated energy, or AKA the orb, as many people will refer to them as. Now, the earliest mention of anything strange is back when the native tribes, the Utes and the I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not gonna even try. I don't have my notes in front of me right now, so I'm just gonna stick with that for now. Um, where the native tribes had these warring uh, mythological stories going back and forth about their skinwalker uh, legends, and sooner or later they ended up taking on some reality to them, and they started showing up in the forms of upright walking canine figures, shadow people, um, portals, mind control, and objects in the sky, as well as disembodied voices. Um, jeez. Um, so fast forward to 74 when a book by the title of The Utah UFO Display by uh, uh, PhD. God, what was his name?
Dr. Frank.
You know what's funny? Frank Salisbury. Here it is, right here. UFO, uh, the Utah UFO Display by Frank B. Salisbury. This is the second edition, which came out in 2010. The first edition came out in 1974. Um, and in the first edition, which I also have over there as well, um, he makes a lot of mentions about some really really old cases that were put together by this gentleman by the name of Junior Hicks, who this is before the Shermans took custody of the Skinwalker Ranch property in 1994. So this is before any of the legend of Skinwalker Ranch made its way into mainstream anything, and was really even known outside of honestly wasn't known at all, because back when Edith and Kenneth Myers owned the property prior to 1994, they owned it since 1933. They never reported anything outside of their two neighbors, one to the east and one to the northwest, with their adjoining properties, which had very seldom conversations with the Myers about uh, some of the happenings on their properties. But it was Frank Salisbury who put together Junior Hicks reports from as early as 64 to the year prior to when the first edition of this book was released in 73. He put together some 60 different reports and shoved it all in the very first chapter of the book, and then used the next I think the total of 10 chapters in the entire book, where he talked about various points of view on the subject of just the UFO phenomenon in the Uinta Basin. Um, and he just focused on the Uinta Basin as a whole, not Skinwalker Ranch, because remember, when this book came out, Skinwalker Ranch wasn't a thing. So there was, before Skinwalker Ranch even made its way out into the public, the area that encompasses Skinwalker Ranch and surrounds it, engulfs it, was well known for all of this stuff well prior. They had things such as um, they had these uh, two very common physical craft that were uh, re- uh, commonly reported to Junior Hicks. He was one was called a double convex, and one was called a convex planar. That those were his own personal names that he prescribed to these craft. And if you think of the terms double convex, this is kind of like a lens thing, right? So think of like a typical flying saucer, right? So it's like this guy. right? You have the convex sphere on the top and the convex half sphere on the bottom. This was one of the more common reported shapes of the Uinta Basin at the time of the collection of the first 60 reports from Junior Hicks. The other one was the convex planar, which was half convex, which was the top portion, and planar being flat at the bottom, so like a dome. And then a third one that was often reported was your orbs, which came in many different colors, mostly in red, white, blue, green, yellow. And there were many different kinds of reports. And Frank Salisbury, the author of the book, did a really, really, really good job at separating most of these reports because he didn't report on all of them. Just picked and choose which ones to really dive into. But he did a good job at deciding which ones to do so with, because he segregated ones to really showcase the differences in the who, what, where, when, and whys. He even included some from people outside of who lived from outside of the Uinta Basin. And one particular case that comes to mind was one from a hunting group from Salt Lake City. They worked for a company and they were on a company or a business hunting trip together. And they were driving along a ridge where one of the gentlemen noticed what they looked like to be a fire up on a ridge. But this fire, this red glow, seemed to be traveling with the truck. It was mimicking the speed at the truck and moving in the same direction. So the driver stopped the truck to see if the glow would stop with the truck, and it never did. It kept going, and as it broke the peak of the ridge and continued out into the open air, it revealed itself as a large glowing fiery red ball to what the men um, described it or compared it to as like a harvest moon. Those really large orangey red moons that you get when they're very, very low in the horizon. Um, and it kept floating at roughly the same speed as how fast the truck was moving until it basically just completely stopped and hovered there, and it revealed itself as one of those uh, double convex shaped craft before it basically took off directly skyward until it almost faded away. And it as quick as it took off, it returned almost to the exact same spot, but slightly closer to where they were. um I'll try to move my face then, kid. Thanks. um um and they watched it for another 30 seconds. One of the guys had made a comment about how they believe that this thing was watching them and waiting for them to make a move, but when they didn't, it just decided to kick rocks and leave. And where then it left in the same fashion as it left the first time, and this time it just decided to go. Um, then, I mean, we get a lot of really good information. I'm not going to really bore you guys with the details of the Shermans or the Robert Bigelow eras because we dove into that quite a bit. Um, and I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, I've got like I said, 68 pages worth of research into it, and there's just an absolute shit ton of stuff to talk about with Skinwalker Ranch now. Um, sorry, I kind of took the long road on there for you there, Jeff, but
Yep, episode's over. Good job, bro.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of weird shit. Like the problem that I have though is that all of this to me is just hearsay. it's just he said, she said type of stuff, because like I haven't really seen anything, like even all the videos and stuff that you can find on the internet of apparent stuff that's going on, none of it's really good, right? There's no solid videos. It's just like, fuck, man, it's hard to tell what's real anymore on top of that. So even if you do get a real good video, it's like, oh, is that just some AI, deep fake shit or something? So but I do think that there is something to, like energy portals on certain places of the earth and what's going on there. I mean, we could guess for ages on what it is or why it is, but there's definitely places where there's like energy, whatever going on, portals, geomancy shit, ley lines, whatever the case might be. I think it's probably more like some ley line grid, energy grid type situation. The ancients probably knew about it too.
I personally don't think you're too far off with that, right? But uh, there's three major hypotheses when it comes to the answers behind Skinwalker Ranch, right? I mean, in the big scheme of things, there's hundreds of opinions about what's really going on there, but when you really narrow it down, there's three big ones. There's the skeptic's point of view, where everything is either misidentification or a hoax or people lying for publicity or to make a quick buck. Um, Personally, um, before I did research into Skinwalker Ranch for the Paranormal Network, back when we were part of that, uh, I thought that could have been some weight to that, but I I really pulled away from that once we did that episode, and even more now that I got a really good chance to dive into that as thoroughly as I did recently. Um, the second one is what they refer to as the nuts and bolts uh, uh, hypothesis, and this kind of goes down two paths too. This either delves into the world of the extraterrestrial or the humans, right? This is either that most of the phenomena is based on either uh, one of three type of extraterrestrial, one from another planet, one from which is called the cosmic trickster, which we've talked about before here on the show, and one from an interdimensional. And then you have
Wait,
the
that it is all three, or that it's one of
no,
three?
it's one of the three, or honestly, the answer is more or less most likely going to be some sort of mixture of more than one of these answers anyways. I highly doubt that anything in the preternatural or in the Fortean that we talk about on the regular here is a solid one answer in most cases.
Right, like if one entity can do a thing, and then why couldn't others?
Yeah. So like for example, right? Uh when I get to the end of this, I'll kind of explain a little bit more. Because hypothesis number two, like I said, nuts and bolts, uh, there a lot of people will say that this is something physical. In the gist of all of this, doesn't matter whether you think it's extraterrestrial, interdimensional, a cosmic trickster at play, or a jinn, right? Is what we mostly will know these cosmic tricksters as, um, or it's human beings doing human being things, experimentation, military exercise, reverse engineering, whatever it may be. It's nuts and bolts, physical, and we can physically touch whatever it is. The third hypothesis is what um, uh, Frank Salisbury refers to as the Stargate hypothesis. And this is where you mix together the concepts of wormholes, uh, interdimensional portals, uh, portals to parallel worlds.
Dude,
So
Stargates are awesome.
yeah, and Stargate he uses as sort of like an umbrella term for those three concepts, right? And personally, personally, I think that I mean, I don't know, man. I think it was at the end of the two or three part series that we did with the Paranormal Network, where I was kind of leaning towards the Cosmic Trickster play, where I don't know, it just kind of I like when things answer more than one question, and I felt like the Cosmic Trickster kind of did that for Skinwalker Ranch. But in the with all the additional research that I did, especially when you include the massive amount of history that the general area has of the Uinta Basin, I think that there's much more going on there. And I think that it's something older than just this cosmic trickster uh concept. And I think that we're literally looking at a place um where the the literal fabric between parallel worlds uh may be thin. And I think this is kind of, plays into the concept of ley lines a little bit. And I think if I know we never really dove into the real the T's and I's of ley lines before on this podcast, but show me your nuts, bro. That's fucked up. um but there's a lot of concepts with
You're
ley
talking
line.
about my snacks in the chat, so
I know,
I'm
I
just
saw.
showing you. I got mixed nuts here. All right, I'm eating some fucking bird food. It's actually delicious, though. I'm not gonna lie.
He's showing everybody his nuts.
Fucking delicious. You guys want ASMR burger?
um but there's a lot of theories behind the concept of ley lines. And most people will look at magnetic lines, natural magnetic lines of the earth, and contribute that to the build of ley lines. And they'll make cross reference to specific locations of physical um monuments, such as pyramids of Giza, Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, if you bring up these pictures,
Yeah, these
if
are
you're
ley lines.
yeah, bring up a good picture of these ley lines, man. um it basically, wherever you see a crossing point of these ley lines, there is a hot spot to be found, right? Mount Shasta, the Bermuda Triangle. um I mean, the list goes on. Basically, wherever you can think of a hotspot in the preternatural or the paranormal, um, a ley line gets intersected, right?
There's actually a website. I don't know off the top of my head. I can't really run it either while we're streaming, probably because it's like Google Earth. They
Hmm.
mapped Google Earth with all the different ley lines. And the thing about ley lines is there's a shitload of them, right? It's like one of these things where if you've ever gotten into gematria or numerology or astrology, any of these like esoteric type things, there's a lot of different translations or whatever you want to call it, right? So on this like Google Earth 3D live world that you can like rotate around and zoom in on, you can activate all these different ley lines from like different ideas. And of course, there's a line that crosses almost everything, depending on which one you're using,
Yeah,
right? Which cultures ley lines or which version or whatever.
yeah,
Um, but there is something to like some of the major ones, they all do kind of coalesce around certain locations, right? And you're right, they like Giza's one, you know, um, South America. There's few South America. There's some in North America as
Aztecs.
well. Yep,
And
the Aztecs and shit.
basically, the ley lines originate at these major points of structures, and they're supposed to be basically energy highways, and where they crisscross, they're supposed to give birth to other areas of paranormal or Fortean hotspots, which is, believe it or not, Skinwalker Ranch is one of those crisscross spots. Now, whether or not that's true, not 100%. I personally have never really dove into the concept of ley lines as a possibility of of being based in reality. I'm open to it, and one day I'll dive into it and look at the evidence and make a educated decision on it. But for now, it's a cool concept that I like to play around with. And let's just say that we talk about this and from my point of view, with the stuff that I do know about, the stuff that I have researched, the thing that makes most sense to me when it comes to these ley lines and Skinwalker Ranch or Uinta Basin is, what if these intersecting ley lines actually highlight areas of which parallel worlds have very thin veils or membranes, if you will, between the two? Is
Can you
this
see
it right
it?
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So you can add different over here on the left. This is leylines.net. Over on the left, you got like explore map data. I already selected one filter just to make sure it was working and shit. But there's like all these different folders, like global ley lines, sites, anomalies, all this
Hmm.
stuff. Here we go. Let's look at this one. Ancient maps, right? This is cool. So you can add all these different. Here, we'll add one more. Add these. I'm not sure how you get the lines to connect, but yeah, there's a way on here that you can add one of the filter. Oh, there it goes. Look at that.
Nice. Oh yeah, dude.
Right. So, and yeah, like depending on which one of the ones you're using, they make geometric patterns. And this is what's interesting too, is because like a lot of the ancient like philosophers and mathematicians and all these people that like got us to where we are, they knew this,
Hmm.
right? This is why they built certain sites on these intersections. This is why they put like these geometric patterns. Look, here's a star, right? And if you rotate this just right, that's like a pentagram, right? And that's used in every culture. And
Hmm.
this is just geometry, so you could break this down into any shape and any fractals, right?
What are
So
the orange dots?
I don't know. I picked random filters to be honest with you. What is this? That's Peru.
Oh, so
Let's get back.
that's the what you call it, the big pictures that you see on the ground. God, what are they fucking called? The Nazca lines. That's what
Is
that's
that what
got to
that
be.
is?
That's got to be, yeah. Peru has to be.
Yeah. So, well, there's a lot of shit in Peru, man. But you know, and who knows how like accurate this particular thing is with these lines. But I'm sure it's pretty accurate. I mean, dude, like this seems pretty legit. There's a lot of shit on here. Platonic solids. I don't even know what this means, but I'm gonna add this to the map.
Fuck it, throw it
We'll
up,
give it a second, see what happens. Does anything happen? I love these 3D maps, man.
bro. Look at
Technology's
that!
cool.
Look at that fat star over Antarctica.
What, dude? It's too bad that we're not on a planet in space and we're on a flat Earth, man.
Oh, too bad, man. Too bad.
Too bad. That's cool shit, though. I dig it, man. I dig that kind of stuff. But I do think that the ancients knew that kind of stuff. And then you have to ask yourself the question: if in how long ago was Egypt apparently fucking, you know, founded? 3600 BC, something like that.
I don't know, man.
6,000 years ago. They already knew where to put it then,
Yeah,
which means this goes way back, man. Way back. I think that this kind of stuff really leans in on like we're much older of a civilization than we think we are.
I think that there was a lot of stuff at play back then. A lot. I mean, especially when you start looking at the influence that astral bodies had on the placement of some of these monuments, like the pyramids of Giza and Orion's Belt. You know, I mean, it's just incredible how some of this stuff was built to perfectly align with astral bodies. It's it's mind blowing.
And like timing too. You know, if you stand right here every whatever 270 years, the sun will pass perfectly through and the light will shine. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of
Yeah,
shit too. It's not just where they put it, but it within the construction they built time and clocks into this as well.
yeah.
So you
It,
really wonder like how much time did they have beforehand to figure this type of shit out?
it's incredible. And the what's the I've been really thinking about this lately, and I've been trying not to go down this rabbit hole. But the 13-month calendar. What do you know anything about that? Yeah, go ahead, sip your fucking coffee, guy. Don't worry about the show. We'll wait for you.
Sorry, man. I'm over here fucking chowing down on salty ass peanuts, bro. I'm cotton mouth like a motherfucker. um, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know much about that shit to be honest with you, but I am aware of what you're talking about. I think there's definitely something to that.
I feel like they were
Um,
on the right track with that shit, man.
I mean, if you look at what makes sense to me is that the new year wouldn't be in January, in the middle of winter, right? Now you could celebrate like winter solstice, you know, as like the beginning of the end of winter because ancient peoples hated the wintertime. The wintertime meant death. That meant you
Mhm.
half of your people froze to death, the other half starved to death, right? Because there was no food to grow. And that was just a terrible time in the year. And then the spring would come and it symbolized birth and you know like rebirth and like all this type of you know fertility and all this shit. And that was just like the cycle of our ancestors' lives forever, right? Whether it was like with farming or with even us procreating, like you know, you can even people have even done the science in this. Like when it started getting cold and people started locking themselves in the hut shelters and stuff, right? That's when they started fucking breeding. And then when it started getting warm and shit, that's when the kids were starting to pop out. And it was like the whole time of spring was like this thing. So I think that when you track like I forget which culture exactly, but like the new year starts on like the spring solstice. Like that's their new year. Right. And then if you talk about the 13 calendars and you break it into I think 28 days or 26, whatever number it is per day, and it's like the moon calendar or something like that. I bet you somebody in the chat knows more about this shit than I do, but there's definitely something to that. And I think that, you know, the people who have been siphoning our soul energy for hundreds, if not thousands of years, have been manipulating things all the way down to the level of like time and how we perceive time and what time it is and fucking, you know, what season it is and what we should be celebrating as far as like the sun cycles and the moon cycles and that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. We got a pretty lengthy comment here from Nate
Read it.
in MPLS. Ley lines are kind of a joke. I believe there are certain locations with more energies of various types, but anyone could take a map or globe and draw lines on it, claiming that that's where those energy centers are. Nobody is walking the globe and measuring these energies. Even if you found a location with higher than average energies, you can't say there's a line connecting to the other locations around the world. It could be a pocket of energy due to geological features or underground water. So I actually align pretty close with that statement. Like I said, I've never really done a deep dive into the whole concept of ley lines. One of these days I will.
I
It's
agree with
just that
that as well too, man. Honestly, for the most part, I'm just saying that there's something to it, right? Like there's got to be at least a little nugget of something there that a lot of these super ancient sites do happen to align in
well,
certain geometric, you know, patterns around the globe, right? Like
pers
I'm not saying,
pers
and it could be as simple as like the architects of the great society that lived that we forgot about, right? Call it Atlantis or whatever empire it was
yeah.
that we forgot about. Maybe they just did that as a way of like what we do now, right? Like when we put a fucking what do you call the big shaft thing, the fucking obelisk, right?
Yeah.
The obelisks are everywhere. It's like it could have been a thing like that. Like we'll put our fucking monuments like on these geometric locations around the earth just to symbolize that we were able to build around the earth, everywhere.
See, the problem with ley lines for me, right? And I'm not a huge fan of taking shit on subjects, right? So I try to tiptoe around these kind of things. But the problem with ley lines for me is that the people who heavily believe in them, they assign the power to the monuments first, and then they draw the lines and they assign the power to the lines, and that's the problem, right? I feel like if you found the lines first and then the lines brought you to the monuments, that's when you would have more of some sort of oomph, some sort of real something behind the claims behind ley lines, right? But if you assign the power to the monument first, and then you draw a line, and then you just assign energy to the line
But couldn't
because
you say that? Couldn't you say the same thing about like the celestial alignments?
yes. But when I talk about like Giza, right? I'm not claiming that there's energy assigned to Giza because it aligns celestially, right? I'm just saying that I think it's impressive that it aligns perfectly with Orion's belt. I think that's incredible, and
And
and,
what
and
I'm saying is I'm equally impressed that the ancient civilization we forgot about
Mhm.
built these monuments in a geometric pattern around the planet.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some cool shit around the planet. Like we had just talked about this, I think, was it last week or the week before, or maybe even the week before that, where we talked about how there's a lot of really similar architecture all around the world in Asia, Africa, South America. When you talk about the Aztecs and the Egyptians, right, and how there could potentially be these underground civilizations that had found their way to the surface that brought their architecture up from these underground pockets of civilization and brought their architecture in the form of these pyramid like structures that we now see today, that we see all across the world, right? I mean, we see this stuff everywhere, and we see architecture across vast distances around the same time or same time frame, um but absolutely nowhere near each other, that are separated by these humongous pockets of ocean where, you know, finding your way to these specific points on the planet and back, you would, I mean, maybe I'm just ignorant of, ancient technologies that were available back then, but looking back at what I believe they had, and what I, you know, uh learned about in, my adventures, I don't think that they had the tools available to be able to do what what's physically shown without, the missing puzzle piece of an underground civilization.
I mean, I listen, I'm not going to argue against that. I would just offer another perspective that they wouldn't be able to do that without the help of time, right? So
Mhm.
like, I think humans are smart. I think we're smart enough and capable enough to do that. I think you just give us enough time and enough, freedom to do this thing or whatever you call it. We could do that kind of thing. And that's all I think. I think it's just, and maybe it's cyclical, every so often, whatever happens, happens. And, you know, shit gets wiped. We forget about the last cycle, and that could just be from like fucking super volcanoes, meteors, or it could be like nefariously done, or it could be like part of the simulation resets. So who knows how deep that goes. But, I do think that there's something to time. I don't think you necessarily need like an advanced species offering us help, giving us technologies, or doing something that, you know, we couldn't do. I think we could do it if we stretch our history back instead of going back 10,000 years since we've started like writing shit down and making pottery and like doing math and stuff like that. I think that's, you know, they're saying 12, maybe 12 or 15,000 years if you count like Göbekli Tepe. That's like
Mm-hmm.
accepted science. 12,000 years, or not even. Yeah, maybe no, 5, 6,000, whatever it is. I'm saying you give it like a whole other 30,000 years before that. That's probably where this civilization existed.
Yeah.
And fucking, you know, all the crazy shit was built.
So, side tangent. Side tangent of this side tangent. That's a side tangent of another side tangent that we took today, right?
Who is Mistress of Muggles? That's a new name. I haven't seen that name. Hello.
Mistress of Muggles is a friend of mine, actually.
Oh, what it do? What it do?
She's awesome. Did you ever get a chance to listen to my solo episode on the aquatic ape theory?
Maybe. When
So
was this? Was this a recent one? No. If it was
no,
recent,
it would have been about this time last year.
probably then.
So I recently came across more reading material on this subject. I originally thought that Elaine Morgan, who was the person who brought the concept of the aquatic ape hypothesis, or as a lot of people would probably be more comfortable with knowing it as the aquatic ape theory. I thought that she was the only person that really ever wrote a book about this, but apparently I was wrong. This guy by the name of Peter Rise Evans, wrote a book called The Waterside Ape. And this book right here, I recently started reading it. He took Elaine Morgan's concept of the aquatic ape hypothesis and really dove into human anatomy. And he makes some really, really compelling evidential points about how we could have spent some solid time in water, man. And not just that, but he also bridges a little bit into how we could have spent some time underground, by making some of the same points as if that Elaine Morgan made when she wrote the book, the aquatic ape hypothesis, and how he draws parallels between animals or creatures that live a subaquatic lifestyle, such as like elephants, hippos, rhinos, right? And they don't have hair, right? They have a fleshy body, but they also require moisture, as in humans do. And they're parallels to other creatures similar to that, such as the naked mole rat that lives underground basically their entire lives, also does not have hair and also requires moisture. Whereas hair or fur covered animals don't require as much moisture to stay, keep their dermis properly hydrated, to a point to where if they don't, they could potentially die. It's very, very interesting. And he does a really, really, really good job at drawing a picture of how we very well could have come from either underground in some wet caves, or from the shores of from some pretty interesting places. Man, it's I can't wait to dive into it again.
That could be too, man. I mean, if you think about the length of time that I think about anyways, or I'm talking about, especially when you get into like some of the shit that like Graham Hancock says.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's right or not, but it's interesting to think about where, if the Sphinx was actually a lion originally and it was facing the constellation of Leo and the rising sun.
Yeah.
And then like you can use computer simulations to run the clock back, like when the last time that was, and it was, like I said, 30,000 years ago, whatever it was, right before the Younger Dryas events that wiped everything the fuck out. right? So, and then if you run the clock back again before that, it was whatever it was, another 30,000 years, right? And you can do this with a lot of these sites. And again, it's kind of like the ley line thing. Like, sure, you could run the clock back on anything and see what was there and like make some assumptions or whatever. But I think you probably could at least go back one cycle of 30,000 years where humans were probably doing some crazy shit and before the whatever happened during the younger dryas, whether it was a comet, fragmented comet that wiped everything out, on two different occasions over the course of a couple thousand years, or maybe it was like some fucking super volcano or whatever the case was. Maybe the earth just shifted, it tilted, and the sun melted all the ice and it just wiped everything out. I don't know. But I think there was definitely some building going on. And I think
Hmm.
they knew about some weird, spooky shit in places. And they
I wouldn't
decided to build shit there.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were aware of the thin membrane between parallel worlds. If they had some way, and this is kind of where, that you could add some sort of reliability to the concept of ley lines if these monuments were built at these areas where this membrane or this veil was thinnest, between parallel worlds. Maybe they built these monuments such as these pyramids or other, structures, Machu Picchu and others, um, where this veil was so thin, where you get the strange phenomenon that you get in Skinwalker Ranch, like these orange clouds that, when looked through in specific angles, you can see blue skies through, or you can see an upright walking canine creature walk through and walk into our existence out of nowhere through this orange cloudy tunnel. Um,
And that could be something as simple as like the magnetic field of the earth or something like that, like some field that we just don't know is like interacting with the brain somehow, or it could be something that simple where the phenomena is just like, what the fuck is happening? Like literally just a phenomena. Like,
yeah, and I know I'm trying really hard to keep pulling this back to Skinwalker Ranch, but like I said, I just got done literally just yesterday. Just got done with my really big deep dive in Skinwalker Ranch. There, I don't know too much about the Mormon faith, and I'm sure if Jake was here, he'd probably be able to elaborate. He probably knows something more than what I do. But from what I understand, they are much more extraterrestrial friendly than, let's say you know, uh, m- modern or standard Christianity is, right? Excuse my ignorance if that doesn't make sense. I'm not, well versed in that kind of stuff. Um, but I do know, because Frank Salisbury, the author of this, the Utah UFO display, is a Mormon man, and he does talk about their openness with the concepts of extraterrestrials and planets outside of Earth and whatnot, and how their founders took to Utah because of the the I hesitate to use words that I'm forcing into position here, but for the lack of a better term, I would say for the thinness of the veil that I use to describe such places as like the Aztecs, pyramids and stuff, right? The same concept is basically how he was sort of explaining that they chose this northern Utah area, the Uinta Basin, and its surrounding areas to settle in. Because when you think Utah, you think Mormons, right? That's a very common thing to make a connection with.
when
Um,
I think Utah, I think first state that's going to have a Bitcoin reserve.
maybe, probably.
Mark my words.
I'm sure you're probably not wrong. Um, but maybe there's something there too. Maybe they, maybe they did choose that state, that general area of the country because of a thinning of some sort of uh world connectivity. That's the whole Stargate hypothesis that Salisbury put out. He also included wormholes, which is not something that connects parallel worlds or multiple dimensions, but connects vast distances in space through the universe.
Mm.
You know,
You know what's interesting to me, man, and this, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a derail here, I guess.
do it.
Um, but it's like, from my perspective, you had this civilization that was building these monuments, for whatever reason, but they would build their cities around these monuments, right? And like they had, it seemed anyways, that they had like a different view on like our relationship with the universe and nature, right? Like they were doing some kind of worshiping the stars. The cities were built around these giant monuments that were like somehow interacting with, the world and the universe, you know what I mean? Like by
Hmm.
being aligned celestially and that kind of thing, right? So they were interacting with the universe with their architecture and their civilization, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, after the cataclysm, let's call it, right? Some people, Jake would call it after the flood, right? I would say after the Younger Dryas, right? It seems like the system that has taken control now has us away from those things. All of those places, all of those monuments and those types of things, we don't, with the few exceptions, those are in the middle, like Utah. What the fuck is in Utah?
Nothing.
Right. And it seems, I would argue that that's probably by design, right? Like, we didn't rebuild massive cities around Machu Picchu, you know, in the same kind of way that the ancient peoples did. And we're not using the same like architecture and like astrological shit. Now, some people would argue, like, well, that's progress. We don't have to do that, dummy. We have computers and technology, and like we can fucking use a clock instead of stare at the sun. And it's like, sure, but you know, does this make sense? Like, it seems to me like there's a
Well,
different order, right? It's
I don't
almost
know if this is the path that you're trying to go down, but my question is, what if the cities that we're building, like New York, Chicago, LA, Dallas, right? These are actually, they mean nothing. These areas mean absolutely nothing. And
right.
it's the rural areas, the Appalachians, the Uinta Basin, the northern portions of Utah,
Well, that's
the
what I'm saying, right? That is what I'm saying, right? There's a I forget.
the national park system.
Yes, listen, there's a conspiracy theory, if you want to call it, that's out there rolling around somewhere. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like, microchip Earth or something. And the idea is that like all of the cities, if you look at them, if you zoom out and you look at all the skyscrapers and you look at the grid patterns of the roads and the streets, right? Like these are all set up kind of the same way that like microchips and like transistors and like all this stuff is set up as well. And it's like they've set everything up in a way to like harvest your energy, right? I'm gonna go esoteric on you guys for a minute here, right? Like they put us in these, they put us, we do it ourselves, but like the cubes, these squares, like these solid geometric patterns, right? Like, it goes deep on this deep level of this like psyop, like soul sucking energy type of shit. So when I think of fucking, it's like the New World Order, right? The previous order, the one that built all the cool shit, they were worshiping fucking nature in a different type of way. They were interacting with the universe. We're in a current order now where it's like separate from that one. They've, blocked that off from society almost. We're in this new structure. It's like microchip fucking soul siphoning, grids, and then like the new world order that's coming in the next cycle, which will probably take like 100 years or two for that to like fully be implemented, will be like whatever the next fucking thing is, transhumanism, fucking weird amorphous blob culture. I don't know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sorry, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I had to go deep for a second there.
No, dude, you good. You good. I do got to get going though. I got to get up. We got a snowstorm coming in tonight. Well, maybe the
Bye.
weatherman doesn't make up his mind very well. But yeah, man. And that's about all I can really do. I'm starting to get a massive headache again. But all right, everybody in the chat, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you guys. You guys are always awesome to read through with your inputs. Please keep it coming next time. Uh, really do appreciate it. Look forward to making more announcements here in the near future. Look forward to it, please. Or I look forward to it. You guys hang tight, and can't wait to spill the beans and bring you guys in on some of the cool plans I've got going on. Jeff, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for the good conversation tonight, dude.
Hell yeah, brother.
All
Hope your
right.
headache goes away. Get better, buddy.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
munch
Well,
out on peanuts.
until next time, everybody. This has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. We'll see you right here in the next fork of the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Bye.